Hello and welcome to Gierok Farms. In today's video, we're going to be making some cowbells. So you might be wondering, why are you going through the effort to make cowbells? Well, we still use cowbells here on my family's dairy farm. The first reason is it's a tradition of ours. It's part of our heritage. My grandfather, he came from Switzerland, and he brought that over with him. When he started milking cows, he used cowbells for his herd. And then when my parents bought this farm and started milking here, they continued that on and used some cowbells of their own. And then for a more practical reason, it's a lot easier to locate cattle when you're grazing them out on pasture if they have cowbells on. So that's a really useful thing when you're grazing cattle. So to give you guys an example, say your milking herd, there's a couple of them that didn't come home on time for milking. We can just walk out the end of the barn and sit there and listen, and we can get a good idea of what direction those cattle are. On our farm, there's a lot of hills and a lot of valleys, so you can't just look off in the distance across the big flat and see your herd. They could be up over the valley or up over another valley. So instead of running around the entire pasture trying to find these cows, it's a lot easier to locate them. And we also graze heifers on pasture during the summer. And when we go to check them, it's a lot easier to locate a heifer that might have calved and is away from the herd, or just when you go up there, instead of driving around to get a head count and looking for the entire herd, you can just sit there and listen, and you know exactly which way to go and exactly where they are without searching too hard. So that's a more practical reason of why we still use cowbells here on my family's small dairy farm. And to answer those of you that are wondering, why are you going through the effort to make your own? Why don't you just go out and buy them? We've bought a bunch. I was looking up at our wall above our milk house outside of our barn where we store all of our bells over the winter. And I seen two of them that my grandfather made, and it inspired me to make my own, because I think it'd be really cool for this grazing season and more grazing seasons to come for my cowbells to be out there on the pasture with a cow or a heifer. I think that'd be really neat. And if they last and they don't get lost, I think it'd be really cool for the future generations to see that. So that's what we're doing. We're making some cowbells in today's video. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get to work. These are the two that my grandfather made. They're essentially just a small box. I'm gonna try to make it out of one solid piece and do the least amount of cuts as possible. And I think this is the style that I'm gonna go for. So here are some of the materials I'm gonna use. I got some scrap flat steel from a local welding shop, a strip of flat steel to make that loop on top. For the dong inside of the bell, I'm going to use this chain and a bolt to secure that on the inside. I think that'd be the nicest. I think I cut off a link or two and then weld a bolt onto that link so then it can kind of swing in there. I'm going to be using that cutting wheel to cut everything. I'm going to be using that torch to bend the steel, and then to tack it all together, we're going to be using this welder. All right, so I roughly traced what I'm going to cut out, and the plan is that this is going to be the top of the bell, and then we're going to fold this long piece down here over on itself in order to make a nice little square, and then we'll cap the top with that piece. So hopefully I don't have to do any extra cuts. It can just be this long cut here, up and over, and we should be good. So let's get to cutting. We got our piece cut out. I'm going to do some measurements here on how much I should fold it with the torch, and then we'll bring it over and start bending it. Got all my torching done, and I don't think I measured this piece quite right with the bending and everything. This gap is going to be a bit bigger than this piece. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece off and then cut out a nice square chunk to put on top of here. So we have our piece, and it looks like it should overlap really nice. But before I start welding this together, I'm going to grind down this surface nice and flat, and then I'm going to do a little grinding on the bottom too, so then it's nice and level. From bending it over, it kind of got out of whack, but not too bad. We should be able to fix that up with a grinding disc real quick. So this extra piece that's still on there, we're gonna weld it and tack it down, and then we'll cut it off. So I have the outer shell of the cowbell done. Nice little box. Cut that extra piece off and I ground it nice and smooth. Now we gotta put that top on here, but before we get too carried away doing that, we gotta weld that chain link on the bottom of it so that our dong can attach to it and it can rattle around in there. So let's weld that on. We're gonna weld it all together. I ended up using those chain links and then a bolt along with a bigger nut over the top. So that kind of made our inside dong and everything. And now welded on the top. I got the top all welded on. I'm gonna have to do some grinding, kind of clean it up, make it nice and smooth. But before I go do that, I gotta weld a loop on the top of the bell for the cow strap to go through. Kind of like this bell, and that is what I got this for, is to make that loop on the top of the bell. So I'm gonna do that quick, and then I'm gonna grind it all up, make it nice and clean, and we should be almost done with that bell. I want to interrupt mid-video here. If any of you have ever done this before, leave a comment down below and let me know how you went about it. And I wanted to say, for those of you who haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. But anyways, let's get back to work. are done, and there is the finished product. I'm pretty happy with it. This is my first time building a cowbell, and I think they turned out pretty good. I'm satisfied with that, and they sound good too. And I think it went pretty well for the tools that I had. You know, it would have been nice having like a plasma cutter or something like that, but those are expensive. You can go through a lot of cutting discs before you need to invest in a plasma cutter. I wish I could have nailed down getting to peel over that flap, but this worked too. I just had to weld one extra seam. So I'm content. I'm happy with how it worked. I'm looking forward to seeing a cow with this on out in the pasture. It's gonna be really satisfying seeing that. So I wanted to let you guys know that you could check out our Facebook and Instagram page, both at Gierok Farms. On those pages, you guys can see a little more content. I try to post pictures on there and things like that. So if you're all interested, I'd go check that out. I'll leave a link down below for that. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.